Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here because today we're tackling what is easily the most critical, yet somehow the most wildly misunderstood part of building in Web3. We are demystifying token design. For way too long, tokenomics has felt like this weird, dark art, right? Just a mix of wishful thinking and industry buzzwords. But here's the deal. Get it wrong, and your entire network collapses. Get it right, though, and you can bootstrap a billion-dollar network actually owned by its users. So we're going to dig into the real math, the law, and the game theory you need to build an economy that actually survives.
All right, let's dive right into this. Back in 2017, tokenomics literally just meant a pie chart, a white paper, and, well, a prayer. It sounds funny now, but man, that was the painful reality of where this industry started. Founders would just raise $30 million out of thin air, allocate 40% to themselves, unlock it all in 6 months, and just watch the price do 100x before inevitably crashing 99%. Those old models, they made a few founders incredibly rich and completely ruined the everyday users. And trust me, the SEC definitely took notice. We are not in 2017 anymore. We have to be smarter.
So that brings us to the million-dollar, actually, let's be real, the billion-dollar question. Why do 99% of these token models just completely fail? They fail because founders rely on ponzinomics. They're literally just banking on an endless stream of new buyers to pay off the old ones. But survival today requires sober math, strict legal compliance, and bulletproof game theory. A token is not just a marketing campaign. It is literal monetary policy for your network. You wouldn't A/B test a country's currency on a whim, right? You can't do it here either. You only get to launch once. To get us through this safely, we've structured this explainer as a strict survival guide. We'll hit 5 key areas. First, tokens are not magic. Second, supply, scarcity, and emissions. Third, how to avoid SEC jail. Fourth, launching without getting farmed. And finally, surviving post-launch reality. Okay, kicking things off with part 1, tokens are not magic. This is our absolute foundational principle. Look, if you take away only one thing today, please let it be this. A token is not a stock. It does not give you a legal claim on a company's cash flow. It's also not a neat little loyalty point that a business can just arbitrarily expire. And it definitely doesn't just magically spawn value out of nowhere. By definition, a token is just a programmable unit of account on a blockchain. That is the whole shebang. It's code that coordinates value based on the exact rules you set up. You choose who gets it, what it does, and the total supply. It has to perform a specific job, whether that's paying for gas fees, unlocking access, or governing a treasury. If your token doesn't do any of those things, you haven't built an economy. You've basically just set up a donation box with extra steps. This brings us to what I like to call the ultimate sniff test for your economy, the $0 test. Ask yourself right now, if my token's price drops to exactly $0 tomorrow, does my business still function? Take Ethereum, for example. It passes this test beautifully. Even if the price of ETH absolutely tanks, people still need gas to run smart contracts, and validators are still earning ETH to secure the network. The core function is perfectly intact. Now, contrast that with Axie Infinity back in 2021. Complete failure on this test. When the price of their token crashed, nobody played the game anymore because playing the game had become a job, not an actual fun activity. It perfectly proves that a token has to be an input or output of useful work, not the work itself. When you ignore that test, things get ugly incredibly fast. These networks fail because there's zero organic demand, infinite inflation from crazy 100% staking yields, completely misaligned team vesting, no token sinks to remove supply, or you just straight up sell an illegal security. We all watched the Terra Luna collapse, right? $60 billion vanished in 7 days. And why? Because they were paying out 20% yields with freshly printed imaginary money backed by absolutely zero external protocol revenue. The second the new buyers stopped showing up, that death spiral was instant. Which perfectly transitions us into part 2, supply, scarcity, and emissions. You cannot just pick a 1 billion token supply out of a hat because it sounds cool, and you absolutely cannot print your way to a successful network. When it comes to inflation, you have a strict, non-negotiable boundary, less than 5% per year, period. Rampant inflation is the silent killer of crypto economies. And the golden rule here is that any new inflation must only go to people who are actively adding value to your network. We're talking validators securing the chain or actual liquidity providers. Do not, under any circumstances, use inflation as a sneaky tax to pay passive holders. Emitting tokens just to pay people for sitting on their hands will nuke your price forever. So how should you actually slice the pie today? The 2024 standard allocation looks roughly like this. Over half, 50%, needs to go to the community. You allocate 20% for the core team, 15% for VCs, and 15% for the ecosystem. But hey, the percentages are really only half the story. The absolutely vital part is how those tokens unlock. The team slice must have a 1-year cliff, meaning literally 0 tokens for the first 12 months. After that, it should be a 4-year linear vest, streaming second by second using tools like Saplier. No massive single-day unlocks, no mercenary behavior. If you don't structure those unlocks the right way, you are going to walk right into what the industry calls the month 18 massacre. This happens when the 1-year cliffs for the team, the VCs, and the advisors all miraculously end around the exact same time. Suddenly, 40% of the entire token supply hits the open market at once. There's obviously no buy pressure to absorb it, and your token dumps 80% in a week. You avoid this nightmare simply by staggering the unlocks. Team vests at month 12, investors at month 18, advisors at month 24. Keep your circulating unlocks strictly under 2% of your total market cap per month, and you'll survive.
Moving on to part 3, and this is a big one: how to avoid SEC jail. I'm getting serious for a second here because ignoring the legal realities doesn't just mean your chart goes to 0. We are talking about literal federal prison time and massive fines. The absolute foundational rule you have to understand is the SEC Howey test. This is what determines if your token is an illegal, unregistered security. If a user invests money into a common enterprise and expects a profit based purely on the efforts of your team, congratulations, you just sold a security. To avoid that completely, the absolute safest path right now is the retroactive airdrop. You don't sell the token. Instead, you build the product. You raise traditional equity to fund it, and then you retroactively give the token away for free to your past users. No initial money invested, no promise of future team profits.
To execute that safely, you need a very strict legal progression. Step 1, start as a standard, boring C Corp. You build your tech, hire your developers, and raise your equity there. Step 2, once the product is actually working and sufficiently decentralized, you spin up a foundation. The C Corp transfers the IP over to that foundation, and the foundation handles the actual token launch. Step 3, the DAO steps in to govern the treasury. But whatever you do, never, ever start as a DAO on day 1. Seriously, you won't be able to get a bank account, you can't officially hire anyone, and the IRS might just decide to treat you as a general partnership where every single member is personally liable. It's a nightmare.
All right, assuming your legal structure is airtight, we arrive at part 4, launching without getting farmed. The literal second you announce an airdrop, an absolute army of bots and Sybil attackers is going to descend on your protocol to drain your liquidity and dump on your real users. You need robust anti-Sybil defenses. First, stick to retroactive rewards. Only reward past organic usage, because airdrop farmers can't fake history. Second, implement proof of human tools, like requiring a Gitcoin passport score. Third, set strict minimums. Make sure users have at least 5 real transactions and meaningful volume, like over $100. And finally, cluster bans. Use analytics to block thousands of wallets that were all funded from the exact same centralized exchange account. Arbitrum actually did this beautifully at launch. They used these exact methods to ban 1.5 million fake wallets. Doing that saved $500 million and totally protected the genuine users. All this preparation culminates in your token generation event, or TGE. Your launch checklist has to be flawless. 30 days out, your smart contract audits are completely done. Look, expect to spend at least $100,000 on your tech stack. Use Open Zeppelin, safe multisigs, Trail of Bits. Do not cut corners to save a buck here. 7 days out, you publish the final tokenomics. 1 day out, you seed the initial liquidity on a DEX. At hour 0, the airdrop claim goes live. Now, for the next 48 hours, under no circumstances should anyone on the team be tweeting about the token price. Just shut down the app and keep your head down. 7 days later, you shift the protocol's focus entirely toward builder grants.
And that brings us to our 5th and final section, surviving post-launch reality. Because guess what? The launch is honestly just day 1. The true test hits when the initial hype totally fades out. The Discord gets super quiet, and actual protocol revenue is the only thing keeping the lights on. You've got to be ready for the market to turn. In a bull market, everybody feels like a genius. The token goes up, VCs are throwing money around. But in a bear market, when your token inevitably drops 90%, reality hits hard. Your playbook has to flip immediately. You need to ruthlessly cut your cash burn down to just the essential core team. You must hold a 2-year runway in stablecoins or T-bills in the treasury, because if your token drops to 0, you still have to pay developers. You've got to make sure protocol fees are actually outpacing inflation, and you have to keep shipping updates every single month to prove the lights are still on.
Your survival also heavily depends on forcing your community to evolve. On day one, let's be real, your community is almost entirely speculators. They buy the token and just obsessively refresh the price chart. Your entire job is to convert them into step 2 users. These are people who genuinely use the product because it solves a problem for them, and they practically forget the token even exists. Eventually, a small core fraction of them evolves into step 3, owners, who actually stake, govern, and build on top of your protocol. Keep a really close eye on this metric. If less than 10% of your token holders are actively using your product, you're not running a network. You're just running a casino. So what does this all come down to? It's this final, incredibly provocative test from the token design canvas. Ask yourself and your co-founders right now, if our token price drops 90% tomorrow, do we survive? If you don't have a bulletproof plan for actual protocol revenue, real utility, and a massive stablecoin runway, you simply aren't ready to launch. Respect the law, respect the math, and respect human nature. Build an amazing product first and figure out the token second. Do that and your economy just might outlive the hype. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this explainer. Now get out there and build something that lasts.